Hello and welcome into this week's edition of Inside the Inferno. Conor McGill alongside Ray Belkora. Ray, an interesting week for ASU athletics, and of course, can't forget about those pro Sun Devils.
It sure was, Connor. We had highlight reel touchdowns, schedule updates for football, men's basketball, hockey, and much more. We start with Adam Noel, who has the latest on ASU football.
Well, it took not one, not two, but three separate releases for ASU football to finally figure out who they'll be playing this year. That being the result of COVID-19 almost canceling the Pac-12 football season. Let's take a look at how that 7-game schedule shapes up for ASU. First challenge of the season begins with USC, a game that will be nationally televised on Fox and set for an early 9 a.m. Pacific Standard kickoff. That's probably the toughest game of the season, as the Trojans are actually projected to finish first in the Pac-12 South, according to the preseason media poll. And things don't line up from there, as Cal is the next game, and ASU opens that game at home. That's another team that's projected to compete for the Pac-12 title, and the Golden Bears present a number of challenges for the Sun Devils in week 2. But from that point on, things will line up a lot for ASU. The team will be favored on a road trip to Colorado and a pair of home games against Utah and UCLA. The hope being that momentum will carry them into their so-called regular season finale against in-state rival Arizona. That game will be on the road, but unlike most territorial cups, home field advantage is all but gone. Although this schedule may seem a little top-heavy, the Sun Devils should consider themselves lucky with what they have. It's a schedule that could have ASU competing for a Pac-12 title.
Thanks, Adam, for the update. In other news, the Sun Devil football team will be without a key recruit heading into the upcoming season. With that, we go to Inferno Intel analyst Ryan Blake, who has more details.
ASU football has had a tough week, losing pieces at the wide receiver position. Starting on Tuesday, Herm Edwards and the Sun Devil football team received news that freshman wide receiver Elijah Badger has been ruled academically ineligible for the 2020 season. Badger did not meet the NCAA's initial requirements for eligibility. However, he is still allowed to practice with the team and will likely redshirt this season. Badger, a 4-star recruit, was one of the top signings for the Sun Devils' 2020 recruiting class. The former Folsom High School star from Sacramento was the 3rd-ranked athlete prospect, 141st overall prospect, and 13th-ranked recruit in the state of California, according to 247 Sports. Badger is a top-ranked athlete to come to Tempe since DJ Foster in 2012, who totaled over 4,800 scrimmage yards and 32 touchdowns over his 4-year career at ASU. On Thursday, the Sun Devils also lost wide receiver Jordan Curley, as a sophomore wide receiver has opted out of the 2020 season due to COVID-19 concerns. Last season, as a freshman, Curley caught 6 passes for 81 yards. He is the first Sun Devil to opt out of the season due to COVID-19. Despite the losses of Badger and Curley, the Sun Devils still have 3 promising freshmen at the wide receiver position, with Chad Johnson Jr., Johnny Wilson, and LV Bunkley Shelton. These 3 freshmen join a deep core of Frank Darby, Brandon Pierce, Ricky Pearsall, Jordan Porter, and Andre Johnson. The Sun Devils will have to wait to see Badger and Curley until 2021, but the wide receiver position for this year displays a lot of depth and potential.
Thanks, Ryan. This past weekend was filled with some amazing highlights from pro Sun Devils. And here we're going to go to the first highlight right here, taking you out to Santa Clara, California. San Francisco 49ers facing the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. 3rd and 7 situation for the 49ers. Nick Mullins throws a backward pass to Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk down the field, and look at this. Hurls over Eagles defender in for a rushing touchdown for the 49ers. Very exciting there. Look at him right there with a little dance, the little shimmy, Got to have some fun with it. His teammates like that. Here's another look at that. Like I said, his agility, always there. This is not the first time that he has hurdled a defender. Great play by Brandon Ayuk. With that, let's bring in Inferno Intel analyst Ryan Blank. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Ayuk's performance this weekend, and what can we expect from him the remaining of the season?
What we've seen is how big of a threat Ayuk really is. You've seen him be used more in the rushing game than through the passing game, but that just shows how versatile he is. He's that athletic, he's that agile to be that type of player, to be used on jet sweeps, to be used on those type of backwards pass plays. The one thing that you can't expect from the rest of the year is getting Jimmy Garoppolo back now, maybe use him more in the passing game. He's a great deep threat with great speed, great hands. So this could be his chance to really make a mark more in the passing game, because he's already made his mark with 2 rushing touchdowns on the season. It's time for him to make his mark through the air.
Yeah, great play by Ayuk. On Monday night in Kansas City, former Sun Devil N'Keal Harry and the Patriots were visiting the Chiefs. 3rd and goal from just inside the 5, Stidham lobs a fade to the back corner of the end zone, where N'Keal Harry makes the catch for the touchdown. Now, let's hit the links with Sun Devil women's golf expert Ashley Engle.
Thanks, Ray. Arizona State Golf has done it again with representing ASU these past couple weeks, this time on the women's side. This past weekend, we had two Sun Devils freshman Lynn Grant and sophomore Alessandra Finale finish top 15 in the European Amateur Championship in Cubo Golf Course in Slovenia. Grant finished the weekend taking 6th place, scoring a 10 under par, while Finale tied for 13th with 6 under par. Coach Faircase said that she was glad that these girls were able to play at this tournament, and this was a great opportunity for them to get ready for the spring season. Right now, the Sun Devils are preparing for the season and still having practice, even though some Pac-12 schools are not able to at this time due to COVID-19. Faircase also commented that Grant and 5th-year Olivia Mahaffey will be participating in the Women's U.S. Open in December. The goal for the team is to come back stronger than ever and ready to go for a successful spring season starting in January.
Thanks, Ashley. Now it's time for another edition of Inferno Intel Headlines. To start things off, let's head overseas, where former ASU tennis player Desiree Krawczyk has made the women's doubles finals at the French Open. Krawczyk and her partner, Alexa Guarachi, an Alabama alum, won their quarterfinal match in straight sets to reach Friday's semifinal against Nicole Melichar and Iga Swiatek, who they beat 7-6, 1-6, 6-4. Congratulations to the former Sun Devil on reaching the final of a Grand Slam.
What a win for them, Ray. Moving on to our second highlight, there is a trend going around that has people posting a picture of where they started in their career and where they are now. A few ASU athletes are already hopping on this trend, and here's this one. This one's coming from former ASU women's golfer Madison Curley. This first picture is her holding what looks to be a whiteboard with a magnetic letters all over that. And what does it spell out? UOA stink. What do you think of that, Ray?
Pretty funny.
I mean, I don't blame her whatsoever. And then here we go to the second picture. She is holding the 2017 Women's Golf NCAA National Trophy, which is Sun Devils won that year. All in all, some really good headlines. Moving on, the ASU men's hockey team recently announced a groundbreaking deal with a major conference in order to play this upcoming season. We bring in Inferno Intel analyst Nick Zeller-Singh with more details.
On Tuesday, the Arizona State men's hockey team agreed to join the Big Ten Conference for this year only in order to play a 28-game season. The Sun Devils will be playing 4 road games against each Big Ten team in the conference-only schedule. However, no matter how well the Devils play, they will not be eligible to take part in the Big Ten tournament. Therefore, if there is a Frozen Four, the Sun Devils will need to prove to the committee they belong with their regular season record. The Sun Devils should be used to that since they are an independent school. However, they will be facing multiple top 15 schools on the road. So looking at it, do the Sun Devils really have a shot at a potential Frozen Four? There's only a slim chance they can make it. After all, the Sun Devils struggled on the road last season, especially against top-tier teams. Plus, they lost Lemieux, Maniscalco, Pashnik, and more. So this will be a perfect time to rebuild and look for the next Sun Devil core instead.
Thanks, Nick. And now I'm joined by Abby Sharpe for Abby's Hot Corner. And Abby, ASU welcomed a new cross-country coach.
Yeah, Ray, they just hired Patrick Henner as their new cross-country head coach. He spent the last 3 years at USC, and in the 2 recruiting classes he brought in, almost every single runner set a personal record in the 6K. If you go all the way back to the 1980s when he started coaching, he took the first 3 high school teams he coached to the state championships. So every single runner that runs under him improves so much. So it's going to be very exciting to watch the cross-country team over the next couple years and see what they can do. Now we'll go to football for a little bit. Former ASU running back Kalen Ballage got released again. We remember that Miami Dolphins released him earlier this year after he spent 2 years with them. The Jets picked him up, so he was reunited with head coach Adam Gase for a little bit. But over the last 3 games, he's had a total of 80 all-purpose yards. So they brought him in to kind of replace Le'Veon Bell after Le'Veon went on the injured reserve. He didn't pick up the slack like Le'Veon normally, produces on offense. That wasn't really Kalen's job. But regardless, they released him again. It opened up a spot for Ty Johnson, and Le'Veon Bell is expected to be activated this week for the game against the Cardinals. But Jets had a player test positive for COVID. So No word yet on if that game is even going to be played or if it's going to be postponed. We'll see, but either way, Kalen Balazs won't be there for it.
Tough break for the former ASU running back. What about this year's ASU football team?
Yeah, first game of the season, 9 a.m. football. It'd be like drinking our coffee and eating pancakes while watching ASU take on USC. But it'll be obviously a great matchup. USC's always one of the top teams in the Pac-12. They did get beat out by Oregon in the preseason media poll, so still a top team, but not number one according to the media. Obviously, Ryan talked about it earlier. The loss of Elijah Badger is huge just because of what he was projected to do this season. But, you know, there's still other freshmen. There's still Johnny Wilson, Chad Johnson Jr. You still have Frank Darby on offense. So it's a big loss. It's tough, but I think they'll still, you know, be fine against USC, and it'll be a fun season to watch.
And it'll be interesting, the game starting at 9. The whole country will be watching it on Big Noon Saturday on Fox. So a good spotlight for the Sun Devils to open their season.
For sure.
Anything else on your mind?
So some news from a school that's not ASU. University of Washington baseball got themselves in big trouble with NCAA. Back in September 2018, their head coach, Lindsey Meggs, self-reported violations that included the team paying for parents to travel basically with their kid for an official visit. At that time, it was only football and basketball that could do that. So obviously, they took it upon themselves, self-reported it, it was all good. Well, it's not like the NCAA still isn't going to, you know, fine them or put in some other sanctions or anything for them. They still violated the rules. So it came out today that part of their punishment for, you know, violating the rules is that the NCAA is going to vacate their wins from the 2018 season. All the games that included the 3 student athletes that were actually ineligible that season, but still played. So that's huge. Huskies baseball went to the College World Series that year, won like 34 games. So really tough break for them, but you know, you can't break the rules in NCAA. So
Interesting news from around the conference. Thanks for joining me, Abby.
thanks, Ray.
Now we go to Nicholas Hodell with some exciting news for Sun Devil basketball fans.
If Sun Devil fans needed another reason to be excited for this upcoming basketball season, reports from earlier this week gave those fans exactly that. On Tuesday, reports said that Arizona State will replace Michigan in this season's Empire Classic in the Mohegan Sun Bubble in Connecticut. The field in the 4-team multi-team event includes 2 of the top teams in the nation in Baylor and Villanova, as well as Boston College, who replaces NC State after the Wolfpack decided to drop out of the event. Arizona State had originally planned to compete in this season's Diamond Head Classic. However, it appears that the Sun Devils will switch from ESPN's Orlando bubble to the Mohegan Sun bubble in the East Coast. This MTE switch gives the Sun Devils at least one elite non-conference opponent, which will give them an advantage in the strength of schedule category, which is always mentioned in the resume discussion. This will be amplified this season because of teams having fewer games against teams outside their own conference to chalk up resume wins. This event will also give Arizona State's top-tier roster a chance to face some of the best competition possible to start the season, which will only help the team going forward. If the Sun Devils can manage a win against either Baylor, Villanova, or even both elite teams, it will strengthen not only their resume, but also Arizona State's case as a team that can win the Pac-12 title for the first time in school history.
Well, that will do it for today's show. Big thanks to everyone who came on today and to those who helped out here in the studio. Be sure to check out all their work at infernointel.com.
Also, be sure to follow us on our Twitter at InfernoIntel. Thanks for watching, and until next time, see you later.